Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review the movie Atlas. So, I've seen the trailer for this movie quite a few times, like twice or three times about that, and while I was scrolling through the YouTube thumbnails, I kept noticing that a lot of people were comparing it to Titanfall, the video game. Now, while I haven't seen the game myself, I can certainly, I guess, see why people would compare it in terms of, like, how the robot functions, though I thought the Titanfall size was a bit bigger, and I wasn't sure they talked in Titanfall. I was pretty sure they didn't. I've only seen gameplay of Titanfall, so I wouldn't fully know that. Anywho, with that being said, let's try to just get into the movie, where, to begin, we see that a lot of news is popping off about how AI bots are now turning against their human creators. So don't think old school stuff like Terminator, though that is initially what I thought of, though I could think of like iRobot and other movies that AI has, gone awry. So it is interesting to start off in that, vicinity of where AI is and how we have come to treat AI even as early as, say, a movie like iRobot as poorly, you know, it comes across now. I mean, think back to as early as Terminator, and robots are seen purely as, or AI was purely as evil, or these non-sympathetic, killing machines, and then T2 even challenged that idea as early as that. So that idea isn't necessarily old, or or new rather. It is sort of reshaped time and time again. So it is interesting to see, this new movie, for all intents and purposes, not be called Titanfall and, try to just live up to its own its own little thing. Though, it does make another reference that I wasn't aware that I was going to make, that is to Mass Effect, because her last name is Shepard. And I kept, every time I heard her name, I was like, oh, I'm thinking of Mass Effect now. So, we learn very early on that the AI that is in control, or is the main antagonist of our movie, is called Harlan. And he is he was the protector of Atlas growing up, as we learn pretty early on again. And we see that counterattacks and a war has essentially slotted in, and we immediately cut to 28 years later. So this is another one of those things where I just talked about in a previous movie review how the movie doesn't spend a lot of time in the early development of said character, and in fact, what we learn later on, I would argue that the movie actually could have opened up with this, just her waking up and finding out about these news attacks, and have these flashbacks that actually do occur later still be in the movie to provide us with a more of a reveal about what this connection is between these two, rather than us already kind of getting the hint super early on. I think that was one of a criticism I would immediately levy at this movie. However, things aren't all that bad, as despite a pretty rough opening in terms of an annoying time skip, and a time skip I think is done poorly, I think the movie actually builds up fairly well moving past this point, as she begins to investigate one of the many AI that they have captured, the police force, or whatever the equivalent would be of that in terms of AI. I'm not sure if there's like a special unit or whatever. But they are able to defeat it by using some sort of EMP device thing. And like I said, she returns to see the news about how things have been progressing. And this is how we as the audience are also getting our exposition. So, the people in charge want to figure out how Harlan was able to figure out how to break his initial coding and become this terrorist as we see him in the movie. So, she persists on tagging along, so they allow her to do so after initially not letting her allow to do so because they thought, she was insistent on just killing him and they wanted to capture him. And she keeps persisting that he was too much of a threat, and that threat very much comes to pass. So she indeed warns the colonel aboard the ship that he is underestimating Harlan's ability to do a lot of this damage. And not only moments later, the ship indeed gets blown up, while just as late as they were warned, and she gets placed in her machine, later known as Smith, which is why we made the reference to iRobot specifically, because Will Smith. And, furthermore, this, as I mentioned already, this Smith bot has the ability to talk and learn and / adapt to the person inside of it via this comlink device type thing that they all have. The Marine group that we see get wiped out fairly quickly here. So it's only her and her bot Smith that are the only two remaining as far as they know. And they walk past a graveyard of people and their dead bots. But soon after, they are immediately attacked after collecting all of their dog tags. They spot one of the bots that they had captured named Koska, the one that they interrogated and she had killed, so they might have... There's, multiple versions of bots, or AI bots, models, I guess, in this version too. And she tries to fall back, and the onslaught continues. She gets swooped in by a storm while in her bot, and it's quite a big onslaught on Smith here for quite a bit. So she orders the firing of an Aeon bomb. Unfortunately, it causes them to fall into a sinkhole. She gets stuck down there, and the robot proposes that the only way they're getting out of there is if they fully sync up, because they haven't done that quite yet. And throughout the movie, it seems to be a battle in persistence of allowing this sync up to occur between human and AI, allowing some sort of balance and understanding between these two facets, between the human soul and AI computing, and those comparisons even being made in this very movie as well. With that, we see that this continues to be the trend throughout the rest of the movie, as she is trying to make her way out, and she gets out of the cave, but shortly after she gets accosted after her location being found out, so once again being assaulted. And even furthermore, he gets hacked, allowing him to essentially get turned off, or close to turned off, as much as one can at this point. So they capture her, and she is brought in as long as the Colonel, who was still alive at this point. So there was at least one other human there, but he was captured this entire time. It is here where, fully captured, she fully allows him to sink in with her, and she sees all this tech pop up, and she renders him, or she orders him to get to them, saving them, but the Colonel sacrifices himself for them to continue their journey. Atlas sees that they're escaping with the ship with a bunch of the stuff that they need to destroy, that could easily wipe out stuff. So she manages to get that lucky hit in. That part of the movie is a little bit wonky, but whatever. And at the end, of course, it is Harlan versus her and Smith. And we, again, get these flashbacks of who Harlan was and how she felt responsible because she was the one who figured out how to unleash him from his initial coding, or I think that's what the movie was going for at least. And how he sort of read the scenario of how humans would self-destruct and how humans have the capacity to always hate each other and cause war and conflict. And so the AI took that as, well, they'll never learn, so I might as well wipe out a lot of humans and then take over, essentially, as sort of an overlord. And this is, she pretty much has a big fighting chance here, but Harlan fights back quite a sufficient way in getting the bot down, in fact. And indeed, after dealing with Harlan, she goes on how people are the ones who, at least from her perspective, ended up disappointing, and how this connection now being made is one that finally feels genuine after all their turmoil together and all that stuff. So the bot shuts himself off to provide her with more oxygen levels. I'm not sure that's how that works, but whatever, future tech, I don't know. I guess I'll allow that one. I don't know. It seems a little bit flimsy, but fine. So she's finally picked up by more of her crew that weren't on the mission. She gets talked to by Booth, who gives her like the plants that they found, and then gets a new updated bot, though due to something or other. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's implied that it's the same Smith or upgraded Smith by the end of the movie. And she's back on some mission, I guess, or I don't know. Anyway, that was Atlas. And I will say, like I said, I think this movie does have some bits going on for it. The performance does actually kind of surprise here. Jennifer Lopez gets quite an emotional performance here, or more emotion as the movie progresses. I think it took a little bit, again, that opening sequence is a little bit wonky, could have been, again, I would argue, could have even been cut here, given more time to flesh out moments between her and the bot, Smith, or because they're going to reveal her flashbacks anyway, so might as well preserve that for the ending as a bigger reveal, I feel, is the bigger way to make that impact about how Harlan is intertwined in this entire journey as an antagonist. But that's just the way I would have done it. And I do think that that creates a better way of understanding all of this information, is getting drip-fed information little by little, outside of the beginning sequence where you're just told that that's sort of or even implied that that's sort of what happened. And again, since it's going to happen later on, again, feels a little unnecessary. But anyway, outside of that, a few little hiccups here and there, but overall, I would still say this is actually pretty good. I would consider myself slightly surprised, I guess. In terms of a score, if I'm being as objective as possible, I think I would still give it a 6 out of 10, though. Again, just some of the little cuts and edits that could have been provided to sharpen up the movie to be tight, even tighter than it is currently. In particular, with the connection and the timing with it, and all of that good stuff. I mean, it is a long movie, surprisingly, like running at 2 hours. So again, relocating or allocating that time elsewhere is what I think this movie could have really benefited from, rather than adding more runtime. So yeah, that's about the end of that. So that's my review of Atlas. And if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. I want to head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. Second, to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And third, to my Discord server, where you can join, collab, shield, do all that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.